Hi, I'm Chief Connolly of the Sanford Police Department. I am speaking to you today because I believe it is important for everyone who lives in Sanford to hear from me that the Sanford Police Department stands with every just person and good police department nationwide against racism, bias, and any form of hate. While the recent deaths of African American men in Minneapolis and Atlanta relit the fire of anger, systemic racism and implicit bias have been pouring fuel on the smoldering embers of that fire for many years. While police agencies have attempted to eliminate racism and bias in their agency for decades, we have not seen nearly enough success. The events of the past few weeks should make it abundantly clear that all police agencies need to work harder and become truly invested in eliminating racism, hate, intolerance, and bias in our organizations. Systemic racism is any action, process, or institution that negatively impacts a person of color and makes it more difficult for that person to succeed, even to the level of basic needs such as housing, enough food to eat, and employment. It is not enough for police officers and agencies to say we are against racism. Police agencies must acknowledge that racism to some degree exists inside all police departments, and that all forms of racism are profoundly immoral and must be eliminated. We all must accept and try to understand the fact that to many persons of color, it seems that the police are always working against them. Implicit bias, like systemic racism, exists in every police department. Implicit bias may surface during interactions with people of color, LGBTQ people, people suffering from substance use disorder, people who are mentally ill, and people who are homeless. Police officers may not even realize that they have implicit biases because those biases usually reside in their subconscious. Implicit bias may cause police officers to allow negative stereotypes about people to influence their decision-making and actions. Because these biases are subconscious, police officers may not even be aware that they are doing so. Additionally, even when police departments make proactive attempts to implement change, our implicit biases may cause us to retain those negative stereotypes without even being aware that we are doing so. Change is hard. The only way to stop systemic racism and implicit bias is for all of us to look inward, acknowledge that we have innate, perhaps subconscious racial stereotypes and biases, and consciously try to eliminate that racism and those biases through education, self-reflection, and ultimately love for our neighbors. And yes, I said love, as in love your neighbor as yourself. In order to make long-term change, you must change the hearts of people. We as police officers must seek to change our hearts before we can truly see past color, ethnicity, sexual orientation, substance use, mental illness, and housing status. I can honestly tell you that once you have a change of heart, it frees you from the emotional restraints that are fueled by internal implicit biases. We must develop trust within those members of our community affected by racism and bias who may have lost any trust in the police department. This will not be easy. It will require all participants to come together and have a true, honest conversation and exchange ideas, beliefs, and solutions. I am committed to this process, and I will start working immediately to develop a citizen police council that will encourage honest conversations about race, bias, hate, and intolerance. If we can meet and talk, I believe we can make progress. We must be agents of progress. We must be agents of change. Thank you.